All right, now let's move on to lesson 2. There's only one bubble in lesson 2. And the first thing you need to look at and do is this planning organizer. This is going to help you organize your thoughts, make sure that your that your innovation, your computing innovation, will be strong enough to be able to get all of the necessary requirements, the beneficial and harmful effect on society, culture, or something, economy, as well as the data information. Okay, so make sure that we take a look at that. There is also the survival guide, and this one is a good one. So go ahead and get this one open on your computer so that you can look at it. Remember that what you guys are trying to do is make sure that you are able to answer all of those questions. And the first thing that becomes important for you to do is picking a good computing innovation. Let me zoom in on this a little bit better. Okay. So choosing a good one from the outset will make completing the task much easier for you. Okay, so choose something that you're interested in if possible, and something that you are motivated to learn more about. Okay, so make sure you have identified an actual computing innovation, and make sure you have a good idea of how to respond to the written responses about your innovation. And that's why that planning piece is going to be so good to help you guys get started with it. Okay, so one thing that you need to do is ask yourself these 3 questions. When you come up with your innovation, ask, does it use data in some form, whether it's input, output, or transforms it? Can you identify a group that it impacts both positively and negatively? Okay, and that's the society, economy, or culture. And then 3, can you find published references about it? Remember, you have to have a minimum of 3 references that you cite, including in-text citations. And 2 of those 3 have to be from the past year. If you can answer yes to all of these 3, then you've likely identified a true computing innovation that will work well for this task. Remember, if the innovation is not a true computing innovation, you can only earn 1 point for the entire task. Now, that's actually different now that the create and the explore are the only things you are doing. So remember that the explore is worth 40% and the create is worth 60% of the entire test. So that's going to be a little bit different there. Okay. So something that you can do here just to kind of check, this is a list that they've given us because, people think, oh, this is a good computing innovation. So I want you to think about this. Go through this list, put a check mark next to at least 3 innovations that you think are definitely a good choice for Explore, and then go ahead and X through 3 that you think would not be a good computing innovation, and press pause so that I can come back through it with you. Okay, so here is that list, and if you see a question mark by it, it means that it might be a good choice, assuming that you focus on the actual computational part for all aspects of the task and not simply the broader technology itself. Some of these can be turned into great topics if done correctly. The green check mark means that it is probably a good choice. It's software with well-known societal implications. And then the X is probably a bad choice. It's hardware or just simply actually a computational thing. Some hardware might be able to be finessed into a computing innovation if you can find the software that drives it or processes the data it collects or works with. It can lead to some tricky situations for an exam reader, though. So as we look through this, things that would not be good ones: fiber optic cable, TCP protocol, even though that's something that we've discussed throughout the year, Bluetooth speakers, digital clock, email, wireless phone charging. So some of the things in this list that would be good would be a music recommendation app, facial recognition software, a system for digitizing and sharing medical records, Instagram, Bitcoin, Snapchat, a phone app, or video streaming service. Now, when we're looking at these and you were trying to put down which ones would be or wouldn't be good examples, I want you to think about that this is not what I'm asking you to choose from. It was just to get your mind working in this direction, okay? So you're still going to need to come up with your ideas. So all of these strong choices here will involve computer code or computing as a core part of their functionality. They have broad societal impacts and they make use of data. Some good choices might need a little finessing to make sure you identify a computational aspect to report on. And then again, these poor choices either do not themselves include a computer or program code and are not computing innovations. Some of these are vague or are combinations of computing and non-computing innovations, which could prove challenging later in your project. Okay? So not all technological innovations are computing innovations. Remember, as you're looking through trying to come up with ideas, focus or refine your choice so you're choosing the computing part of your innovation. Keep the written responses in mind. If you already have some sense of the data your innovation uses and the impacts of the innovation on society, you're probably on the right track. Okay, scroll down to the next page of your survival guide, and you're going to see harmful effects versus data security concerns. So one of the challenging things about the Explore PT in doing research is distinguishing between a harmful effect and a data security privacy concern. Computing innovations can lead to bad things happening, but how do you know if it's a harmful effect or a data storage, privacy, or security concern? So here's some things that you can think of. A harmful effect on society, economy, or culture. What are the unintended consequences of this innovation on specific groups of people, assuming the innovation works as intended? So for a harmful effect, who or what stands to lose from the wide use of this innovation now or in the future? Whereas the data storage, privacy, or security concern is what are the risks? How could the data be misused? What are the security or privacy risks? So what I want you guys to look at here real quick is this short little activity. Here's a list of bad stuff resulting from computing innovations. Identify which is a harmful effect and which is a data storage, security, or privacy concern. So go ahead and hit pause on the video and go through this list, and let's look and come back to it in a minute and see if you can't figure it out. All right. So if we look here, we can see that the first one, autonomous cars must constantly collect and store data about their location. Hacking this information could allow attackers to remotely track where drivers travel. That is a data concern. Autonomous cars will displace thousands or millions of people currently employed as bus, taxi, and bus drivers. That is a harmful effect on society and or economy. Digitizing and moving medical records online makes it significantly easier for attackers to access personal information. Again, that's dealing with data. Music recommendation systems may inadvertently direct listeners towards a more narrow selection of music. That is harmful. The growing use of facial recognition software makes it increasingly challenging to navigate society. Harmful. Online advertising is so individualized that we can now operate within our own filter bubbles. For example, political discussion suffers as it becomes challenging to communicate based on a set of shared experiences or pieces of information. Harmful. Data about things that you have liked online can be used to make reasonable guesses about your age, etc. That is data. Car sharing apps like Uber or Lyft have contributed to a class of workers who may work full-time but do not enjoy the typical social and economic benefits. that is harmful. And then finally, your location history in a mapping app can allow someone to know where you live, go to school, or spend time, and that is data. And you need to make sure that you are looking through that and understand the difference between harmful effects on society, economy, or culture, and data storage, privacy, or security concerns. Okay, turn to the next page of your survival guide, which is the rapid research activity, harmful effects. I'm not going to go over this with you so much as I want you to go over it by yourself once you have found a couple of ideas for a computing innovation, because you're going to want to see if you can find harmful effects to specific elements of society and people. Remember that the harmful effect, you should assume the innovation is being used or works as intended. It identifies the impact on society, economy, or culture, and it identifies a group of people who are impacted. I'm not going to ask you to turn this in, but this is going to help you in finding a good, solid computing innovation that has all of the information that you need. Okay, so do that on your own. The next part of this is going to the Explore PT Planning Organizer, and again, that is up here by itself. If you have access to a printer, I highly recommend that you either print this out or do this on your own piece of paper, where you can list everything and start planning it out, again, to make sure that you have all the information that you need in order to earn your points for this task. The next part is your completion timeline, okay? And if I was in class with you, I would ask you guys to go through and map out a plan with the final day or the final task, step 8, being May 22nd, Friday, May 22nd. That is 2 solid weeks of class time that you have to complete your Explore PT task. Excuse me if I keep saying create. I just noticed that I keep doing that. So May 22nd, plan it out so that you are ready. May 22nd also gives you exactly 1 week to where you can go back and refine if necessary, go and upload it and submit it to the AP digital portfolio along with your create performance task that some of you have done. You have to make sure that you submit both of those when you are done and satisfied with it. So again, it has your Explore PT guidelines in here, which we have gone over. So I'm not going to go over them again, but take your time to read through this to make sure you fully understand it. It has some checklists to make sure that you have everything that you need. Notice that it also has research tips for each part of this. Use this document, Explore PT Survival Guide, okay? Go through it. And notice it's doing it for each one of those rows. It tells you advice, response checklist, and things that you should start searching for, okay? And then it has the task directions for you, which again, we have, yeah, it's this one, task directions, which I've gone over with you, but it's here. They have it in multiple places. Make sure that you have read through it. I at one point printed a copy for you, but if it's in your binder or your spiral, then you're probably out of luck, but look at it. And then here are your scoring guidelines once again. Here it is in rubric format where it tells you the scoring criteria and it tells you decision rules. If you have any of these things, your point will not be awarded. So make sure that you take the time to go through this, okay? These are the things it wants. These are the things it does not want. And then here's some notes to help you go through it. Again, go through this step by step. It's just 3 pages. 1, 2, 3, yep. 3 pages of information.